Hello, podcast listeners. This episode is all about things creepy and kooky and spooky. It is a Halloween episode. We talk about all sorts of old stories. We talk about candy. We talk about costumes. And we even argue a little bit about whether or not The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie. Christmas is in the title. Sit back and relax. This episode of JJ Meets World features Halloween.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Put some scary music behind this. Like, okay, you ready?
Yeah.
You're going to start it now. Nice. Excellent. I thought that we could talk about Halloween in this episode.
Best time of the year, best holiday of the year.
It's your favorite, huh?
It's the best holiday. It is.
Just it is?
It is.
I love Thanksgiving, but I also I enjoy the festivities
Right.
of Halloween. I enjoy the traditions of Halloween.
Right.
I'm very sad that there's not more kids in my neighborhood that trick or treat. When Jill and I first bought our home on 9th Avenue, we get like 2 kids tops.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Which is weird because that's a school neighborhood.
It's a school neighborhood. We also advertise that we're giving away premium candy. And I'm not talking about just full-size candy bars. Jill went nuts. She ordered like little bags that look like IVs that were full of just like a candy gel blood and gummy thumbs and all of these things that kind of make Halloween a little more exciting, and still
Right.
nobody came there. And so right around, Valentine's Day, I'd be like, who wants some IV blood?
Right.
And now that we're in our new house, we get maybe like 30 or 40 trick-or-treaters.
That's a pretty good number, I think.
It is. But when I was younger, my mom used to keep a tally, and we were getting 250 to 300 trick-or-treaters.
Whoa.
I remember my mom loved Halloween. She loved to go all out for Halloween. And for years, she would get a full tank of helium, blow up a balloon, attach a treat to the balloon so that when you left, you had a balloon with this treat. And of
That's
course,
dedication.
my dad was in the sunflower seed business, so we also gave away a lot of sunflower seeds during these times. And now we're still the house that gives away full-size candy bars, and I enjoy that. But I also have, as an adult, found out Halloween is a lot more interesting historically than people give it credit for. For example, what's the cardinal rule for trick-or-treaters, Tucker?
Be in a costume?
No, come on. What's the one rule your parents give you when you go to trick-or-treat?
Say please.
That was their one rule?
I guess I don't know.
I was looking for...
You have to say trick or treat.
Yeah, I was looking for don't accept unwrapped candy.
Oh.
Yeah, your parents didn't care about that safety
I guess
aspect?
not. I guess not.
My parents definitely subscribed to that, and my friends' parents, they were always like, don't get unwrapped treats. And if somebody on the block, like an older person usually, was giving away unwrapped treats, they would freak out big time. And here's something interesting.
Do you ever have to inspect the candy bar wrappers for needle pinpricks?
Yep, needle pinpricks, or that's where they put the cyanide in. Want to hear something that's going to blow your mind?
I do, always.
Okay. Joel Best, who I have spoken to and interviewed before, not on this podcast, but in my other job, is a professor of sociology and criminal justice at the University of Delaware. And he looked into the papers and history and court logs all the way back to 1958 across the country and found not a single instance in which a child was killed or seriously injured from someone who put pins in a candy bar or laced something with LSD. It did not happen, with the exception of one horrific story Only one proven case of a child dying from poisoned Halloween candy occurred in Pasadena, Texas in the year 1974, but there's a twist. Timothy O'Brien, the young boy who died, his father, not a stranger, put cyanide in the 8-year-old's pixie sticks.
Yes, that really doesn't count.
No,
that's
it didn't.
that's just a plain old. That's not what we were always warned about.
Yeah.
My parents didn't tell me, "Be careful, because if you don't, we're gonna put cyanide in your candy." Right.
Right.
So, are you saying then that you think that it was in urban legends that sort of catch on, and they're kind of useful safety tales to tell kids to get them to be careful when they're getting things from strangers?
But is it truly useful? Because you're warning children against something that actually doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like if I told you, "Oh, Tucker, listen, if you step on a crack, you're going to break your mother's back."
Yeah.
There's no scientific evidence that supports that.
I think it might be the involvement of candy, because we do know that there have been plenty of times where a child might be victimized by someone after being lured with candy, and it's just not it's specifically attached maybe at Halloween.
But is that even true?
I haven't done the research. I would feel I feel comfortable in asserting that I bet that's happened in instances where a young kid is unwittingly lured away by a promise of something,
Of candy.
It's okay. It could be candy. It could be. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how one time a guy tried to get him in his car because he said he had books about monsters in his car. He met him at the library. He's a little kid, like looking at monster books. The guy's like, "I got a bunch of books about monsters in my car," and he started walking out with them until the librarian stopped them. So candy to ply children is definitely, I think, has happened before. But if you think about trick-or-treating, though, I mean, I don't think anyone has done that when a kid comes to their front door. Right? Kids, the good chance the kid is with a group or with their parents. So that's not like the most vulnerable spot for them is trick-or-treating. I think they're in more danger of getting hit by cars because the cars can't see them because they're not in reflective enough clothing.
They're in an all-black Harry Potter outfit. Black wig.
I feel like we should go back a little bit to why I think Halloween is so great, because I don't want to make it sound like, oh, Thanksgiving and Christmas are second rate and blah, blah. Amazing holidays. I'm happy that we end the last 3 months of our year with some
really baller 3-month in a row holidays.
The best holidays, right? They're all
4 if you count Labor Day. What? Keep going.
But Halloween, you get to use a lot of creativity in that, for something to count as Halloween imagery, it can really be anything as long as it's your costume for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at Christmas, there's definitely a very set palette you have to adhere to for it to be Christmas. And even Thanksgiving, fall colors and food and turkeys and pilgrims and stuff like that.
I have a deep belief that everyone has a fantasy about being somebody or something else, whether you wish that it had worked out with a previous partner, or maybe you think it would be great to be a celebrity, or the movie Top Gun is your favorite and you wish that you were in fact a Top Gun pilot. But Halloween is the one day out of the year that you get to live that fantasy.
Right.
And you live that fantasy alongside everybody else living their fantasy. One of my favorite things in the world is when I encounter someone who's got the same Halloween costume I do.
Yeah.
And I think like, wow, we're the same.
What was the last time that happened to you?
When I was dressed as Barf from Spaceballs.
Right. I guess we've probably talked about it on the show before, but for a while now, you've been doing a consecutive streak of a different John Candy character every Halloween.
Correct. And they started at your Halloween parties.
That's right.
I dressed up as Uncle Buck.
That's right.
And then I dressed up as Del Griffith from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Most people thought I was Mr. Belvedere, but that's all right. I carried shower curtain rings with me the whole night. I've done Barf. I've done Gus Polinski and from the Kenosha Kickers from Home Alone. I've got a couple other that I still would like to do. I don't know how I'm going to do his character from Hot to Trot, the Bobcat Goldthwait movie.
Okay.
Because he's the voice of a horse.
Sure.
So I don't know really how to make that happen.
What are the chances of like his character from Blues Brothers?
I've thought about that as well. I'd have to get a hold of some orange whip, though.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically 3 orange whips.
How do you make an orange whip?
Orange whip isn't like a mixed drink. It was a regional soda pop in the Illinois area. And one of the producers, his friend, sold this. And so his friend said, hey, could you mention my product in your movie? Just so we could, get some publicity. And he goes, okay. And so he turned to John Candy. He goes, could you mention my friend's drink, orange whip? And John Candy goes, yep, no problem. Roll the camera. And so if you watch the 2 cops he's sitting with, they have no idea what he's saying, and they actually start to smile and laugh. When he sits down, he goes, all right. Orange whip, 3 orange whips. And he's not even talking to a waitress.
Is there a John Candy movie set at Halloween? Or even a movie where a scene takes place that is set at Halloween, a scene where maybe we see a John Candy character celebrating Halloween.
Well, so SCTV, his television show, had Halloween-specific episodes. Okay. And so there's stuff from that. I wanted to go as Johnny LaRue, which is the kind of shitty producer he plays on SCTV. And for that, all I need is a blazer that has a giant J and an LA on it for Johnny LaRue. I also want to be, he plays a character named like Mel, the guy with a snake on his face, who is this dude who just has a giant tattoo of a snake on his face. He also plays the mayor of Mellonville, which would be fun. So there's a bunch I could grab from there that have some Halloween-y twists. But I can't think of a movie in particular that's Halloween-based or includes a Halloween-specific scene off the top of my head. I mean, he's got a great character in JFK. Where he plays this southern aristocratic foppish fella. And so maybe that would be one to do at one point. But
is there a cutoff age for trick-or-treating? I know we've passed it, but I'm wondering if there is, at what age it is time to tell a kid stop doing that.
According to a national survey of adults, they think 12.
Okay.
I say nay.
So preteen.
Yep. I say 15 is the last year you really can go out and trick or treat, because by the time you hit 16, you're,
got a car, you're driving.
Yeah.
You're putting on the airs of an adult.
Yep.
At that point, you're beginning to.
I also think that young parents enjoy it because they get to dress up if they want, or they get to enjoy the act of trick-or-treating and walking around with their kids.
I'm trying to remember when I last trick-or-treated. I want to say it was 5th grade, so that would have been 1995 or 6.
That was the last year you trick-or-treated?
I'm pretty sure that's the last time I trick-or-treated.
Last time I trick-or-treated was 1998, and I was born a whole year before you were.
Oh, you were. That's true.
I think, here's the thing. As long as you put the effort in, go for it. Enjoy it. If you are going to half-ass a costume and be like, I'm a skater, I'm not going to give you treats. If you come up to my door and you're dressed in full makeup and you're Tinky Winky from whatever, I will give you a treat. If you're 40 or 50 years old, it doesn't matter.
Right.
There was a house near mine that would give beer to the parents. And so I remember my dad walking with me only to that house. And then he'd be like, all right, boys, you're on your own for the rest of the night.
I wish I sort of had the time and energy to be able to, for Rezel and I to put on our Release the Beast party again this year.
Those parties were a lot of fun.
They're a lot of fun, and we'll probably do it again at some point. But really, especially in this town, if you want to throw a killer Halloween party, you need to start laying the groundwork at the beginning of September.
Oh,
because you need to get the word out that you're doing something. Because otherwise, other parties are going to crop up, and people are going to overbook themselves at too many things. So if you really want to throw a killer Halloween party, you definitely got to start earlier and let people know that this event is going to be happening.
Cosplay is something that's getting bigger and bigger, and I think that's Halloween creeping into other parts of the year. People who are really good at cosplay, I think, really go all out for Halloween. Here's an example of a party I went to that, no offense, it wasn't your party.
That's fine.
But I met a girl who was dressed up as Gadget from Rescue Rangers. And oh boy, did she have my attention for the whole evening. Because I've always had a crush on Gadget, but I was crushing even more knowing that this girl had human parts underneath her jumpsuit. That was pretty exciting for this kid right here. It did not pan out, by the way, which is unfortunate.
Oh, yeah. Well, you are not engaged to her right now, so it's sort of a...
No, although Jill Jill does go all out with costumes. The only problem is she picks men. She costumes as men most of the time. So she's got a really amazing Jareth, the Goblin King from Labyrinth costume. Yeah. In fact, they showed Labyrinth on the big screen recently. She dressed up like Jareth, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's David Bowie's character from the Labyrinth. And I dressed up as the baby in the striped pajamas. And we had people who wanted to take our picture at the movie theater. She's also dressed up as Ernest. Nice. She's got a great Ernest costume.
Nice.
The only thing she can't manage is the Jim Varney, like giant toothy, like, and she just can't get that right.
I'm trying to picture Jill as an Ernest.
She even bought a stuffed dog and then bought a collar, and it says Rimshot.
Nice.
Which I thought was nice. So it took me a long time because I always thought Rimshot was just when you peed on the toilet seat.
No, but it's a drum thing.
Yeah, bump. You've never heard of the term rim shot for when you hit the toilet seat?
No, I've heard of it for what it correctly is, which is what they do after you tell a joke on a drum set.
But think how funny I thought it was when Ernest's dog was named after something when you pee.
I can see little JJ standing up, peeing, going, rim shot,
rim shot, rim shot.
JJ, stop rim shotting on the toilet.
Your toilet privileges are gonna be taken away. You're peeing in the shower again. So I've got another piece of Halloween trivia for you.
Let's do it.
So you'll enjoy this because
will I?
It's got some Irish history behind it. So we commonly use pumpkins. We carve pumpkins. Most people nowadays don't even carve them. They paint on the front of the pumpkin.
Right.
Or they'll etch away chunks of the pumpkin and put like divots of shapes. And then it's just, I can't believe it. It's amazing.
Right.
But it hasn't always been pumpkins. Do you know what root vegetable we used instead originally?
I'm guessing if you're saying Irish, then potatoes?
Not potatoes.
Okay.
Turnips.
Turnips.
So people would take a hollowed out turnip and put a candle in it, and the candle represented a trapped soul. Oh. And what they would do is after a night of drinking, they would go out souling door to door with their turnips with candles and ask for food, and in exchange for the food, they would say prayers for the dead.
Huh.
So it was this old version of trick-or-treating, and there's actually a really interesting folk story of why we call them jack-o'-lanterns.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it?
This is educational. AF. Let's do it.
It's the legend of Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack. The legend of Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack was a miserable old drunk who loved playing tricks on anyone and everyone.
He's reading this off his phone.
One dark Halloween night, Jack ran into the devil himself in a local public house. Jack tricked the devil by offering his soul. In exchange for one last drink, the devil quickly turned himself into a sixpence to pay the bartender, but Jack immediately snatched the coin and deposited it into his pocket next to a silver cross that he was carrying. Thus, the devil could not change himself back, and Jack refused to let the devil go free until the devil promised not to claim Jack's soul for 10 years. The devil agreed, and 10 years later, again, Jack came across the devil while out walking on a country road. The devil tried collecting what he was due, but Jack was thinking quickly and said, "I'll go, but before I do, will you get me an apple from that tree?" The devil, thinking he had nothing to lose, jumped up into the tree to retrieve the apple. As soon as he did, Jack placed crosses all around the trunk of the tree, trapping the devil once again. This time,
real Achilles heel for the devil, isn't it?
I know, yeah. He should assume that Jack's got crosses.
Crafty old Jack.
This time, Jack made the devil promise that he would not take his soul when he finally died. Seeing no way around this predicament, the devil grudgingly agrees. When Stingy Jack eventually passed away several years later, he went to the gates of heaven but was refused entrance because of his life of drinking and because he had been so tight-fisted and deceitful. So when Jack went down to hell to see the devil and find out whether it was possible to gain entrance into the depths of hell, the devil kept the promise he had made to Jack years earlier and would not let him enter. "But where can I go?" asked Jack. "Back to where you came from," replied the devil in a New Jersey accent.
Is that what that was?
I think so. The way back was windy and very dark. Stingy Jack pleaded with the devil to at least provide him with light to help him see his way. The devil, as a final gesture, tossed Jack an ember straight from the fires of hell. Jack placed the ember in a hollowed-out turnip, one of Jack's favorite foods, which he always carried around with him when he could steal one. From that day forward, Stingy Jack had been doomed to roam the earth without a resting place, and only with the lamp lit by the devil's ember in the darkness.
I'm seeing a logical flaw or two here in Jack's story.
Which is?
One, if you have succeeded in trapping the devil in a penny, why not just leave him in the penny instead of go, well, I'll let you go, but you have to promise not to take my soul after 10 years. It would just seem to make more sense. Like, oh, you caught the devil? He's like in a penny now? That's great. Leave him in the penny. Let's throw him into a ocean or something. Why let him go again?
Well, for starters, he's got him trapped because he's got him next to that cross.
Right. So you could like attach it to a cross all the time. And then
How?
he's just with whatever.
How could you do it all the time?
All it's doing is it's right next to each other, right?
Yeah.
Just a rubber band.
I don't think that they had rubber bands at this time.
Just some twine.
When the devil was appearing just in public homes.
Piece of straw.
Tie
it around.
Straw.
They were able to tie things
away.
then, JJ.
Straw withers away.
They had the ability to tie things, JJ.
What if a cat chewed on it? I'm just saying, I see where you're coming from, and I'm telling you from Stingy Jack's perspective. Plus, he's also drunk at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that it's probably a good idea, too.
It also seems like it's a good thing that he's actually locked out of hell. Like, I would rather roam a barren wasteland but not be undergoing like constant torture versus living in hell and being tortured constantly.
But
absolutely.
But you don't think loneliness is the greatest torture of all?
Not compared to being deboweled and then reboweled and then deboweled and then reboweled and then deboweled over and over again. I would take loneliness over that for certain. It's like, yeah, I get deboweled and reboweled every single night, but at least Chuck is here.
Yeah.
I could talk to him.
Yep.
We could
at least you
compare
interact
notes.
with someone. So this is very similar to a Russian folk tale called The Soldier in Death. I think we've talked about it on this podcast before.
Maybe.
Where a soldier returning home from the Crusades interacts with these homeless men who give him each a gift that leads him to eventually capturing death.
That's right. Yep. And it kind of has some of the the seventh seal.
Yep.
Has a lot of. It takes a lot from that Russian tale.
So to me, I think a lot of cultures have stories of somebody who interacts with the devil, and then they find out that what's worse than hell in these stories, and the moral of these stories, is not having a place either above or below.
Mm.
And that being doomed to wander the world alone as you turn to dust is
so
worse.
It's not forever. It's just until you've turned to dust.
No, because even after then, your soul wanders alone.
Got it. Okay.
You're wandering alone for a very long time.
Hey, man, I spend a lot of time alone right now, and it's totally working for me. So I'll take that over getting my feet chopped off and reattached and chopped off forever and ever by mosquitoes.
Not to jump holidays, but be careful, or you're going to Kevin McAllister yourself. Careful what you wish for. The best Halloween candy of all time, in your opinion?
Well, I know what it isn't.
It's not circus peanuts.
And it's not candy corn.
F those and the B.
Those are disgusting. How they suddenly became like, well, this is part of what you eat at... No, it's not. It's not what you eat at Halloween.
No. And I hate how they've made a million types of candy corn now.
Right. I'm trying to think of candy that is Halloween specific, though, because any candy that I get at Halloween is typically available year-round.
Yeah, but like, what's the one that makes you especially happy when you see it?
Well, anytime I get a chance to get peanut butter cups.
Okay.
Peanut butter cups, it's a guaranteed hooray for me.
Okay.
And so if you really want to drug me, get some peanut butter cups and inject something inside the peanut butter because I will eat it regardless.
Just so you know, chicken feed was the original name of the candy with that we know as candy corn, and the production started in the 1880s by the Wonderly Candy Company. Following the 19th century, the Golitz Confectionery Company, now called Jelly Belly, manufactured the product along with the other agricultural-inspired treats at the time. In the late 19th century, America's confectioners sought to market candy corn to a largely rural society. So you didn't see candy corn much in the big city, but you saw it big time.
I think people who say they like candy corn don't actually mean it. They feel like they have to like it. Like, oh, you're an adult, you should like candy corn. But I don't think any of them actually do.
No, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. Who would want that?
As of 2016, annual production in the United States is 35 million pounds or almost 9 billion pieces of candy corn.
How often have you bobbed for apples at like a Halloween
party? I've done
it
once. I did it once at McLaughlin's RV and Marine Halloween Christmas party. And I watched a kid spit into it afterwards.
That was my next thought.
Nope.
I've done it a few times without thinking of the hygiene aspect of it. But I don't think I can ever do that again.
You know what people forget is that really, in all honesty, Halloween borders flu season. Like, you wonder why the flu is getting so rampant because we're doing things like bobbing for apples.
Yeah. But there is also something special about you're going to go party on Halloween night. You get whatever costume on you want. You go somewhere. You get messy drunk, and you just have a blast in weird costumes. Getting the opportunity to act like a kid for the night.
I love hearing stories from my friends who work in ERs because Halloween's a very interesting night where people come in and they may have been hit by a car, but they are dressed as a zombie. So you have to figure out where the real blood is actually like coming from. Or
no shit.
And they said a lot of times that when people are brought in to the ER on Halloween, they just strip them buck naked.
Yeah.
They strip them buck naked and they, sponge them off real quick and they go, okay, let's start from an Operation the Game standpoint here rather than having to guess
I bet
what
that's
it is.
over a range of days too, because depending on what day of the week Halloween lands on, people sometimes will celebrate a week early because it's what matches up with a weekend calendar and partying's going to work good.
This year, 2018, we've got a shitty date for Halloween. It lands on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are going to celebrate that Saturday beforehand.
Yeah.
But that Saturday beforehand is the 27th. So you're 4 full days away from Halloween.
That's okay, though. I think the weekend before Halloween, I think the Friday and Saturday before Halloween tend to be the biggest party times, for sure.
But I miss it. See, now here's the thing, though. If Halloween falls on let's say a Thursday, right? I think people wait until that weekend to celebrate it once you're into November.
Yeah.
Versus doing it the week before.
Right.
So I'm always interested. And then there are some bars who will take advantage of both and be like, hey, man, dual Saturday Halloweens. We're going to get this thing done. Hope you like the Monster Mash. Here's something that's always bothered me when someone's like, oh, he's dressed up like Frankenstein. No, he's not. He's dressed up like Frankenstein's monster. Mm-hmm. Unless he is playing Victor Frankenstein, the mad scientist who brings life back into a corpse.
Right. I have no desire to ever dress up as Count or as Dracula, but I would dress up as the Count from Sesame Street.
Oh,
I would absolutely dress up as him.
I find it interesting that the Count was one of the things they chose. They're like, how about a vampire? And he's like, aren't kids afraid of vampires? No. This vampire, while he has sharp teeth for biting into the flesh of the neck of a virgin, he also enjoys counting. There's a Sesame Street song, too, where they give it to the Count where he's batty. He's batty.
Does he ever talk about blood or bloodletting or blood sucking on the show ever? Does he ever even...
He comes out in daylight, too.
Yeah, he's a daywalker.
But the thing is he enjoys things of the macabre as well. So his car has giant bat wings that like come out the side of it.
I would have loved to help flesh out like the universe of Sesame Street, and like if Sesame Street like had its own public access channel that people who lived on Sesame Street would watch, and he had his own like horror host show where Count is is showing like classic horror films, and I think Oscar the Grouch would have to be a part of that show.
Oh, without a doubt, he'd be like the host
or like the band leader.
Yeah, that's where it's at. Let's talk about local horror legend. Delray Dvorak, a.k.a. Mad Frank. Great documentary came out a few years ago about Mad Frank. And if you're not from this area and you happen to be listening to this podcast, you may have actually seen Mad Frank, because apparently the crooked dealings that went on at the local station here in Fargo, North Dakota, sent these episodes out across the country, and people played it on other public access stations.
Well, so that's actually standard practice for a lot of things when it comes to public access TV.
Is it?
Yeah.
But this wasn't on public access.
That's right. It was on local.
This was on our local Fox affiliate.
That's right. So like public access TV was definitely where most horror hosts would show up because they weren't someone who was connected like Del, who had some sort of connection to make that kind of a show. But yeah, I think that's very interesting. I love the idea that there are people all over the country who know who Mad Frank is. The horror host genre is pretty sweet.
It really is. I'm excited that Joe Bob Riggs has a show again. Did you ever watch any of his stuff?
Oh,
he was supposed to be sort of like this redneck horror host.
Yeah,
I think he was on USA if I'm not mistaken. Huge fan of Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira. She is way funnier than people give her credit for. People think like, oh, well, she's just got big boobs and she flaunts it. No. In fact, if you get a chance, she has a movie from 1988 called Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, where she inherits a house and a spell book from her great aunt.
She's definitely one of those characters.
So good.
Characters growing up as a kid where you're like, I feel funny.
Yeah,
I like Elvira. Why do I feel funny?
I just ordered a book written by her that details the history. Yeah.
How old is she now?
Ooh, I think she's probably in her like mid to late 60s.
Okay.
But she had a reality show called The Next Elvira for a while where they were looking for somebody new to play the character, and I don't think anyone ever really got it. And so they're like, well, we'll just, we'll keep it this way.
It's too bad that other genres of movies don't get public access hosts like that.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Truly
like, it's
agreed.
always horror, but what about like romantic comedy? Like a romantic comedy host, and it's all romantic comedies that are in the public domain.
Sure. Or get someone from, get Molly Ringwald, and she hosts an 80s movie marathon. By the way, Cassandra Peterson, a.k.a. Elvira, is 67 years old.
Well, shout out to you, Elvira.
Yeah. And it looks like she's not married right now.
Oh, good to know.
I'm just giving you that one.
Good to know. You said she's 66?
67.
She's just a little over twice my age.
Yeah, just a little. Just a smidge.
That's okay. Age is just a number.
That's right. As we know.
What is the line from Arrested Development? Young or old, it's all the same when the lights are out.
I've got another reading I'd like to do for you, if that's all right.
Yeah, you want some more creepy music?
Please.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, which actually terrifies me. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to the still beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before, but the silence was unbroken and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, I said, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what threat there is, and let this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and let this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here, I flung open the shutter when many a flirt and flutter. In there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obsessant made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the continents at war, through thy chest be shorn and shaven thou, I said, art sure no craven. Ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on this night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking that this ominous bird of yore, what his grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamp lighting gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Oh my God, this poem is super long.
This is longer than I remember
right? Being. All right, here we go. I'm so close. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the truffed floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee by these angels, he hath sent thee respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on his home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. prophet, I said.
Jesus.
Sing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil. By that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell his soul with sorrow laden within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting.
Fuck.
Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of thy lie that thou hast spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy break from my heart and take thy form from my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.
It's no wonder that asshole died broke.
And in love with his cousin.
You know what that poem makes me want to do?
Watch The Simpsons?
Eat a Butterfinger.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
The way that, so The Simpsons include this in one of their Treehouse of Horrors, albeit a truncated version.
Yeah.
Do you remember who does the voiceover for it?
No.
It's James Earl Jones.
Oh, okay.
And he does a haunting rendition of this. One of the reasons I like Edgar Allan Poe's poems like this is because they're stories. I see them less as poetry and more as stories.
And they've stood the test of time.
Yeah. It's always about somebody who's sort of an underdog and is hard to love.
Mm-hmm.
So Hop Frog, he talks about a disformed dwarf who everyone, laughs at. Like he's the court jester and everyone laughs at him. And then he burns everyone alive. Take Mask of the Red Death, where this dude finally gets invited to a party only to find out that everyone has, it's that thing where you cough up blood a lot.
The consumption?
Consumption. What's it really called, though?
I'm not sure what it's actually called, but isn't there also one where someone gets bricked up inside of a cellar? Don't they?
Yeah.
Blinking on the name of all these things. I apologize to every English teacher I ever had.
Right.
I think with Edgar Allan Poe, though, I think it's, and as a connection to Halloween, is that Halloween is also very different in that it is the morbid holiday, right? We celebrate ghouls and goblins and gothic things and gory things and dark ideas and dark concepts, and we dress it up as fun, which it is. And Edgar Allan Poe is definitely part of the really morose part of all of that.
Mm-hmm. And it's gross. So gross, and I love it. Do you have any favorite scary movies? Anything that gets you?
Well, actually, the movie that scared me the most when I watched it wasn't a horror movie. It was Jaws. I think that's the most freaked out I felt watching a movie when I first saw Jaws.
People like being afraid.
Yeah.
They like fear. They like suspense.
They like fear without consequences, right? They know that there's no actual bad thing that's going to happen to you. So feeling fear in that sort of controlled environment feels good.
Another great story that actually has nothing to do with Halloween, even though people think it has to do with Halloween, is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and School Marm Ichabod Crane. Because it really plays well on the idea of that fear and suspense, because
you've got the jack-o'-lantern too as the head.
That actually was invented by Disney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Hessian carries his own head and whips a dismembered head at Ichabod in the original Washington Irving text. But the original Washington Irving text is probably 7 or 8 pages long. And it's only on the last third of the last page that you even get into him being chased. They mainly lay up about how he's such a nerd. But the chase is interesting because he goes to this party where they're telling all these, horror ghost stories, and he pays them no oblige because he's a school teacher and he's a man of science and profession. And it's on his way home that he starts, he's on his horse and his horse is clopping along, and he suddenly realizes that there's someone a small distance behind him clopping along. So he goes a little faster, and this other person starts going a little faster. So then he says, oh, I'm going to pull it back a little bit and this person can pass him. And then the person slows down behind him. And that's when he takes off into a full gallop. And as he goes over this hill, they talk about how the moonlight shines down and the moonlight shows the enormous size of this figure and the fact that it has no head. But it can't pass the old church bridge.
Right.
And that's when he turns around after he's finally gotten over the old church bridge and they throw a head at him. And so in the story, you could read it as he died because he disappears.
Right.
No one ever sees him again. But one of the old men from the town, Sleepy Hollow, ends up going to another city on a business trip and says, yeah, I bumped into Ichabod Crane. Still teaching school, went to law school while he was out there.
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's totally fine.
Yeah. I would be like, ooh, Washington, let's just dial that one back a little bit. Let's let them think that something horrible happened to this guy.
I guess it's kind of like the morality tale of watch out for poison in your candy. You know, a lot of horror tales are about someone with hubris sort of being gotten, right? Something that whatever it is that they flaunted or flouted, that I'm not going to worry about that. And then they get taken over. You know, in horror movies, people who get killed by the slasher are people who are usually engaged in youthful pranks or drug use or sex or some other thing, and they get kind of punished by this evil doer.
My favorite scary movies are the ones where there's nothing at stake for the killer.
Right.
It's not a revenge story. It's not I'm killing people so that I can, you know, become famous like in Scream. It's like the movie Halloween.
Right.
Where Michael Myers just wants to kill his sister.
Sort of a force of nature.
Yep.
Relentless, fuging, killing machine.
Yep.
You know, you asked me what my favorite scary movie was. An easier question to answer is what is my favorite Halloween movie? And that is undoubtedly Nightmare Before Christmas, which I think is both a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie. It's probably my favorite Christmas movie too. I wouldn't be surprised if now that I think about it. Yeah.
Drives me. So I will allow you to have that without losing respect for you, even though I think it's a Christmas movie. Because only the first 2 minutes of that movie take place on Halloween in the opening song.
Right.
I also get mad at people. I was just in a big box store recently.
Get mad at people.
Yeah. And they're
Fuck
like,
you, it's a Christmas movie.
well, they're saying, ooh, your favorite Halloween movies. And they were pitching Gremlins.
Not
like
Halloween
Gremlins
movie.
takes place on Christmas.
Right.
It's a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas horror movie. Stop taking the things I love and ruining the timeline for them. Screw you, Warner Brothers.
I really think, though, that the reason that Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie is because the moral of the story is, and Jack Skellington learns this, Halloween's better than Christmas.
For him.
No, that's the moral of the story. That's the whole point of the movie, is that Halloween is better than Christmas.
Because it seems to me like everybody else is like super jacked about Christmas.
People really get the message wrong.
Even the Halloween people get jacked about Christmas.
Right. And then they learn that Halloween's better anyways. So they just do Halloween again.
Then they love Christmas at the end when it starts snowing in Halloween Town.
Yeah, but they're still Halloween Town. They don't become Christmas Town. They realize, like Jack goes, wait, I'm Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King. What am I getting all trying to be the new Santa Claus for? Halloween's way better than Christmas. He says that actual line. Halloween is way better than Christmas. That's in the movie.
He says the line, Halloween is way better than Christmas.
Yes, it's after he's has to go fight Oogie Boogie, and then he goes, but I am Jack the Pumpkin King, and wow, Halloween is way better than Christmas.
I believe he goes, I'm Jack the Pumpkin King.
I just can't believe
Halloween is way better than Christmas.
It's a sort of an aside to himself, you know.
Hey, side note.
He writes it in a journal. There was a cut track from the soundtrack. A lot of people don't know, but Danny Elfman wrote a whole song about how Christmas is essentially bullshit.
That
was the title of the song.
I like how he uses hieroglyphics at one point too,
right.
to depict Sandy Claus.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one. My sister is a fan of a very specific genre of film that is synonymous with Halloween, which is movies that happen in only one day or one night.
Oh, okay.
Chrissy loves those.
Okay.
So things like Breakfast Club, she goes gaga for that. Hocus Pocus is a good example.
That would probably be my runner-up for
It's
Halloween
so
movie.
good. It's so good. And it features a gentleman that you've met a few times at the Fargo Film Festival. Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. That movie made me want to be a cat. Because as a kid, when I saw it, I was like, being a cat's awesome. I could be a talking cat. I would love to be a talking cat. I wouldn't have to go to school. I could crawl into small places and do all sorts of cool cat stuff.
One thing that I really get a kick out of is how when people watch that, they're like, wow, what this guy's undying love for his sister, where he would sacrifice himself to 3 witches to save her, even after she's already dead. I'd probably not do that for my sister. If I peeked in there, I'd be like, shit, I'm going to go get the elders.
Yeah. I also remember as a kid seeing Sarah Jessica Parker and being like, I feel funny. Why do I feel funny?
Yep. Do you remember the song they sang?
No.
Come, little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment.
There was a scene from that movie that was cut from the trailer, and I noticed it as a kid. Because I don't think in the movie there's a scene where they fall into a swimming pool, is there?
No.
But there's in the trailer.
When they're in the high school.
Right. So that seeing them fall into the water in the trailer happened, and it doesn't happen in the movie. And as a kid,
and that's Tucker's favorite genre is movies where people fall into pools.
No, it's movies where scenes get cut out that you see in the trailer.
I'm trying to think of other like okay. This is another one. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a scary movie that puts horror films on its head. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that they do such a brilliant job in that movie.
And there's kind of a distinction that needs to be drawn here, though, because something's a horror movie doesn't make it a Halloween movie necessarily.
But I think things are synonymous, like Halloween and scary. So scary movie,
Yeah, but if we did a movie about a blizzard, it wouldn't be a Christmas movie necessarily.
If you didn't include Christmas as part of the blizzard, you're really missing out on part of an audience.
At Christmas there's snow, and at blizzard there's snow. So it's basically the same thing.
Here's what I don't understand. Hollywood executives out there. If you make a scary movie or a movie that's themed around Halloween, even if it's total and complete garbage, it's still going to get played on, ABC Family's 13 Days of Halloween.
Right.
You might as well just embrace that. Same thing with Christmas. They're not making enough Thanksgiving movies. The best Thanksgiving movie of all time, of course, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay.
If you say Home for the Holidays, nice try. I appreciate where you're going at that, but fuck you.
What is your favorite Christmas movie?
My favorite Christmas movie?
I know now that mine is not Nightmare Before Christmas. That is my favorite Halloween movie.
Is it? Are television specials included?
I'm down with that, yeah.
Okay. The Muppet Family Christmas. Followed closely by A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you were thinking maybe like a Home Alone for me.
I was thinking Home Alone for me.
Yeah. I also think the first Santa Claus is a almost flawless film.
Yeah. Iron Man 3.
Any of Shane Black's movies. He loves setting things around Christmas. I was shocked to find out that the latest Predator movie was set around Christmas.
I was obsessed with the Santa Claus movie because I wanted to be part of the Elf Liberation Front. I
The
love
little like marine
elves with backpacks, the jetpacks. Hell yeah. You kidding me? You live at Santa's workshop all year long, and your one job is to engage in essentially like undercover covert missions. It's like the SEAL Team 6 of Santa Claus. In fact, I bet ELF could totally kick the shit out of SEAL Team 6 because they got Santa magic.
Do you want to know another Christmas movie that is
tinsel,
completely overlooked, but is easily one of my all-time favorite classics now?
Okay.
Arthur Christmas. Aardman Animation did it. It's a computer animated movie. It was a bigger hit in England than it was in the United States because it's an almost all English cast. But it is about Santa Claus's 2 sons, one of them who's being groomed to be Santa Claus, and then his other half-witted son named Arthur. And Santa decides at the end of this Christmas, which is the very beginning of the movie, that he's not going to retire. And his other son takes it hard, and they find out they forgot a child. And so Arthur's journey is to deliver this one Christmas present, and he uses Grand Santa, his grandfather, who thinks that the current Santa and all of his technology is taking away from the coolness of old Santa times. It is So good, and it's so heartwarming. And if you need to know what Christmas is all about, you need to watch 3 of the Santa family peeking through this closet door and watching a kid unwrap its present on like Christmas morning. And like, God, they get some emotion out of that.
See, now they don't really make heartfelt, emotional Halloween movies.
They don't.
Really, because there's not the lesson to be learned. My friend Scott Horvick always refers to what makes a Christmas movie, and that ultimately it's some form of tale of redemption. So the Santa Claus, he's Santa. It takes place, but
he becomes a better father.
He becomes a better father. He redeems himself as a father, and we will actually be playing with that a bit in the play that you and I are working on right now, Santaland Diaries.
Interesting.
Excuse me. Where that redemptive quality of it, whereas Halloween seems to be more about the fun.
Survival,
the pranks, and the hocus pocus.
I think
witches.
Yeah, I think Halloween has to do with, what's a smart term of saying getting over yourself and allowing things that you don't understand to be a part of your life. I think most Halloween scary movies start with someone being a skeptic,
right?
And they're like, well, that's not real, or they have a false sense of security about something. And so I feel like that's what a lot of Halloween movies have going for them.
Right. I love scenes in movies that take place at Halloween parties because I love seeing just random people in whatever Halloween costumes they come.
And they're
up
always way too good.
Yeah.
Like it's an entire party full of people who put in a ton of effort. When in reality, you go to a Halloween party and maybe 20% put in a lot of effort, and everyone else sort of half-asses it in some way.
Right.
Or it's like, oh, you dressed up as this character again? Haven't you done that for like the last 6 years?
Right.
Well, I own a doctor's coat.
So here, the 2 people, though, there are 2 people in my life who I think win Halloween whenever they do it. And that's David and Carrie Winterstein. Okay. Those 2, whenever they decide to do, they always do like a couple's costume together. And every time they do it, they fucking kill it.
Let's see. Annie and Dr. Warbucks.
Yep.
Or Mr. Warbucks. But Carrie was Mr. Warbucks.
Curious George and the Man in the Yellow Hat.
Bert and Ernie.
Mary Poppins and Bert from Mary Poppins. God, what was another one they did? Yeah, we already said Bert. Their Bert and Ernie one was so creepy.
Someone should go as David and Carrie sometime.
Me and a few friends have all gone as Scott Horvick before.
Have you?
Yeah.
I remember being with you when the birth of the gentleman mascot theme was there. That was exciting.
Do you remember who I wanted you to be? You already had plans and you already ended up doing something else. But as I was recruiting people, I was giving them suggestions of who I thought they could be. I really wanted you to be Chef Boyardee. Because I think he counts. You know, he's a chef in a fancy restaurant. He's got some prestige.
On cans,
right? You know, he has a title, and if anything, he would be making the food that they would all be eating at their gentlemen's club.
What other gentleman mascots? You had the Pringles.
I was the Pringles man.
Brad and he has a bow tie. That's what makes him a gentleman.
Yeah, it was mostly like he's sort of dapper. There's sort of a dapperness to the mustachioed, curly mustachioed guy. So I made a version of him, and then Brad Delzer was the KFC Colonel, and Scott Haugen, wherever the hell he is these days, was Captain Crunch, and then Missy Teeters was Mr. Peanut. Yeah. But there were a lot of other ones that could have gone. I mean, I consider Count Chocula a contender. Orville Redenbacher, Uncle Ben. I would be. I think both of them are great gentleman mascots. Who was? Oh, the Red Baron. I think would definitely belong there.
Okay.
The Quaker Oats Quaker, maybe.
Ooh, let's not get into religious backgrounds here.
He's a man of distinction. He holds a high place in the community.
I'm surprised you didn't get a Mr. Monopoly, a Rich Uncle Pennybags.
Rich Uncle Pennybags, that's right. That was one of the suggested ones too. But I mean, we only had 4 people do it, so we couldn't get them all done.
I went on my bachelor party this last weekend, and I bought a legit top hat, like a real top hat,
like a stovepipe top hat, or just like a top hat?
A tall one.
Nice.
Yeah.
You gonna wear it at your wedding?
Just thinking about it.
Just spring it on Jill at the last second. Let her not know about it until she gets walked up the aisle.
I think I'll wear it all night.
Yeah.
And so be like, well, this is what you're getting yourself into.
By the way, JJ, we can't go any further without talking about something else. We're recording this on your birthday.
That's right. I turned 35 today.
Yay!
Thank you.
We're not going to sing now because just JJ and that'd be weird. I don't want to just sing myself to JJ, but once you listen to this was recorded on the day before it was released, and sing happy birthday to JJ. Give him a shout out. Message us on Facebook.
Someone told me this morning, like, well, you're at the halfway point in life. And I said, I hope not.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
I'd like to live past 70. In fact, my dream is to live to see the next round of Halley's Comet.
My goal is to upload myself into a non-biological object and then continue to live on after that.
Oh, listen, I know that sounds like a great idea, but you could end up on the next Apple Newton.
We'll see who's laughing when I'm inside a computer and you're just dead.
Well, you won't be because you'll be.
It'll sound like this.
It'll be best.
1-0-1-0-1-0-1-0-1-0-1-0.
One of the best Halloween costumes I've ever seen is some dude built a Johnny 5 exoskeleton that he got inside of. That was intense. I like that LED technology has come a long way because people have really embraced that, and small motors and servos.
And because the cosplay culture has gotten so big, and now there are just millions of tutorials on creating, fake armor out of floor mats and rubber and things, creative ways to make things look really, really good. And so now you're finding people making costumes just out of stuff that they have at home, but they're able to detail it in such a way that it looks fantastic. The craftsmanship that goes into that kind of stuff just always blows me away.
Like Sexy Gadget from the Chippendales Rescue Rangers. Can't stop thinking about her.
Have you ever dressed as a sexy something for Halloween?
I wore a couple dresses.
Were they sexy? Did you look sexy in them?
I don't know. Did you ever see the movie Porky's?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the matronly woman from Porky's?
Yeah.
That's what I resembled.
Who has to not laugh while those guys laugh?
I wasn't
back?
Ballbricker.
Miss Ballbricker.
Yeah.
Kudos to that actor for her to be able to get through that whole monologue. Like the guy who plays the principal cracks up once or twice.
Yeah.
And everyone in the back, I don't know the story behind how that scene was made because it seems so genuine, but she kills it. Like she's able to get through that whole thing without cracking once.
I also have mad respect for the women, in Hollywood who play the unattractive, unlikable, just wart women that occupy some amazing roles. For example, the woman who plays the Trunchbull in the Matilda movie, and she later goes on to play Uncle Vernon Dursley's sister in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That woman crushes it as being this wholly, I think every part she's ever played has been just a wholly unlikable, brutish woman.
Right.
I love that.
I've always wondered, though, how awkward is it on casting calls when you have a type you need, say someone who is obese or someone who has a particular look, and what it would feel like to be someone who's like, oh, what audition did my agent hook me up with today? Oh, right. And you read the description that they're looking for, and you have to kind of go, oh, that kind of matches me in some way. I guess that sounds so awkward and painful to me.
I was auditioning for a comedy troupe once, and it was an open audition, so you're auditioning with men.
This is in Chicago?
In Chicago. Men, women, all sorts of things. And I got my callback, and so I got into the callback, and it was this very specific time, and I was like, oh, this is the role I fit in this cast, because it was a bunch of other chubby white guys. I'm like, oh, okay, I understand. That's the part I'm going to play. But to me, I was like, well, great. At least I fit in one of the parts.
Sure.
Could be worse. I'm yawning enough, which makes me think that I probably should be done talking about Halloween, because I'm getting a little. To be honest, we're recording this at night, and I'm a little freaked out outside. Going outside now.
To be
I've
fair,
worked myself up.
You just came back from like a 4-day trip to Vegas for your bachelor party.
Yeah,
and you definitely probably didn't sleep much on that trip.
I did not.
Was it everything you hoped for, though?
It was
good.
Everybody on the plane to Las Vegas pretty much hated my group of friends and I, because we
Not
were
surprised.
We were being bullish, and there are plenty of people having some laughs, but the woman next to me was reading a Kindle, and what she was reading was How to Journal Spiritually. So I really set myself up with a wonderful seatmate.
I just think anyone who sits next to Phil Lund in an airplane is fucked.
Yeah.
Just fucked.
My good buddy Phil Lund, I remember getting on a plane with him once, and he was suffering from hemorrhoids at the time. And we had been out all night drinking at a music festival. And
picture a guy who looks like he's made out of gravy.
Yeah. I always say like a giant baby. Like imagine like a giant baby wearing a Dave Matthews Band shirt. And so he walks up to this woman who's sitting in the aisle seat, and he's got the window seat, and he goes, excuse me, like I gotta get in the seat.
The Phil voice.
Excuse me, I gotta get in the seat over here. And the woman looks at him, still seated, and goes, "Gah, why are you so sweaty?" By the way, if you guys have never experienced TSA pre-check,
It's pretty sweet.
It's amazing.
It's pretty sweet.
And here's the thing. I don't benefit a lot from it in Fargo because Hector International Airport, like, you're never really in a line that long. But when I was in Vegas, it was sweet. TSA, this episode is brought to you by TSA PreCheck for a free acknowledgement.
Did you hear that?
Did that register?
It registered.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a toot.
Felt amazing.
Mm-hmm. Did it?
Yeah. It did.
You did a full-on Dukes of Hazzard where you got up on one cheek.
Yeah, because it was getting ready to erupt throughout the show, and I was hoping that there would be a moment where you wouldn't speak so I could drop it, and then it would reabsorb a little bit. And it finally just built up too much that I had to let it go.
That's a lot of thought put into that fart. All right, I'm going to go home and eat my cake.
Care deeply about it.
This episode has been about Halloween. Hope you enjoyed it. It was fun for Tucker and I. And please send us pictures of what you dress up as for Halloween this year.
Absolutely.
Or just pictures of you on the couch if that's how you're spending your Halloween.
Maybe if you dress up as the JJ Meets World logo for Halloween, we'll give you something special.
Oh, guaranteed.
JJ Meets World.
Thanks for listening, podcast listeners. We really appreciate everything that you guys have done, the letters, the comments. They've all been great. If you enjoy JJ Meets World, please go on places like iTunes, Spotify, wherever you consume the podcasts you love, and leave us a great review. If you also want to leave us a couple of bucks, that's great as well. You go to patreon.com/JJ Meets World. It's a / if you've been putting a backward slash this whole time, and that's the reason you haven't been donating. A couple of bucks goes a long way. We have almost 70 hours of free content that we've put up here. If Tucker is looking at me and he's saying well over. He's going well over. It could be 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. He's saying even up from 75. I'm not going to be bold enough to say that because someone has probably tracked the time on all these episodes and is going to call me a liar again. By the way, thanks for the fan mail, Bartholomew. If you want to check out what Tucker's up to these days, you go to his website. It is moonbasedmaria.com. Tucker produces every single episode of JJ Meets World, so you can only imagine what he produces when he's not sitting in front of Adobe Audition. If you want to see what I am up to, your host with the most, go to www.linebenders.com. That's the home of my improv comedy troupe. You can book us at your corporate function or holiday gathering. If you want to check out more great stuff about JJ Meets World, like us on Facebook or the Twitter, whichever one you choose. I don't care. It's dealer's choice on this one. Speaking of dealer's choice, I learned how to play craps when I was in Las Vegas, and I was much better after I had been drinking than I was when I was sober. And then I was telling someone, I learned how to play craps, and they're like, dude, that's roulette.